Hello and welcome to Meet Your Inspiration podcast with Meri and Rich. Here we're talking about inspiration, motivation and empowerment. Our guests are ordinary people who became extraordinary, and we're sharing their stories who want to empower you to become the person you want to be, to go beyond your dreams.
Today's special guest is Mr. Graham Baker from Graham Baker Photography. Graham has an amazing story, and it's an amazing privilege for us to welcome you. So thank you for coming and joining us today, Graham.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I think we bumped into each other at Zoe Ken's
We finally
event.
talked to each
We
other.
actually spoke to in person. We've been sort of known each other online and stuff.
Yeah, thanks to LinkedIn, we know you.
Would you like to come on? I went, sure, why not?
Yeah,
So,
And we want to say a big thank you to you because, we never met you until that day in person, but you've been always very supportive to us. I don't know how we end up on your, obviously, LinkedIn, and we appear, but that was very much appreciative from our side because there are not many people who done that. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about photography today because I would say it's a huge part of your life.
Sure.
And if I must be honest, I would just mention here that I absolutely love when you post these things. Don't ask me, ask my clients. It's absolutely, that's the best way, isn't it? Not you go and say what it is. The people that experience the work with you, they are the best.
Yeah, sure. My clients become my own marketing team effectively, rather than me telling you what I do. And also there's a degree of humility about it. You don't like to be too big-headed about how well you're doing or how good a job you do. But then if I've got clients telling me that they love what I do and they love my work or whatever, then I'm going to share that because what better to hear it from someone who's like them, who's looking for a photographer that can help them.
Brilliant way of marketing, I would say.
Thank you.
I will take you back in the time and we'll ask you, when you were finishing your secondary school, did you know what you want to do?
Was photography part of that then? Or?
No.
Okay.
You're taking me back a while, so it's been a long time ago.
Come on.
I look a little bit younger.
20 years only.
I wish. I didn't have a clue when I finished school. I was quite interested. I think it was inspired by one of my teachers at school. He was a business studies teacher. I can't for the life of me remember his name, which is really bad. But I wasn't great at school, but the business studies teacher was quite inspirational, and I found myself being drawn to that as a subject. So that when I left, I wanted to go to college to do business studies or the BTEC in business and finance. I didn't actually have enough qualifications to attend it, but I had to do a little extra test, and they assessed that I was okay, and then so I was kind of like the bottom end of the people getting onto that course. So I was very fortunate to do that. And then that was 2 years doing business and finance. And I actually got an award for most outstanding progress on that course as well. So
Goes to show, doesn't it? No limits to what you can achieve.
Yeah, I think it's that I wasn't, I think I like to think I was bright, but I wasn't particularly academic.
The thing is, sometimes at school, you don't always feel like the subjects don't hit the spot.
No.
And also you're surrounded by your friends and your mates, and it's all everything's going in its own world.
Yeah, we were up to other things more than interested in it. But business studies, I just found I was interested in that kind of not entrepreneurship kind of thing, but I liked the idea of making money and kind of that sort of thing. So that's why I went on to do business studies at college.
Did anyone in your family was having like own business or
no, nothing at all like that. So it was very much kind of this seems, I didn't know what else to do. That seemed like a good idea at the time, so that's the kind of what I went with. And I really did enjoy that over the following 2 years. And then I passed that with distinction, and then I did the A-level business studies. I didn't study for it at all. I just thought I'll give it a go, and I passed that as well. But I wasn't really sure. Even at that point, after college, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. So what happened next? Oh, yeah. I was interested in the military.
Okay.
I wanted to join the army. That was kind of, or partially, I wasn't quite convinced that I wanted to join the army. And I even remember going down to the local recruitment office, and they were like looking for all the paperwork and everything. And then I thought, actually, I still want to do that, but I want to travel a little bit. And I had some family in Australia, And I thought, well, I'll go travelling to Australia first, and then when I come back, then I might join the army and see what's what. But I didn't have any money, so I couldn't really afford to go travelling to Australia. So I just was looking through the paper, because that's what we did back then. We looked through the paper for jobs, and there was this job looking for, it was a computer operator, and it was, this will sound old, but it was like loading tapes and like the reels of tapes and stuff like that. And I thought, well, that'll tie me over, so I can earn a bit of money to then go off to Australia. So that's what I did. So I started working for they were a pensions and actuaries firm, and I was just in the IT department. And but then over the following few years, I found I had an aptitude for that as well. I was actually thought, well, this was actually quite good fun. I quite enjoyed the IT and the computers and everything else.
So you got a bit more hands-on rather than just loading, tapes and things.
Yeah, it was. It used to be loading tapes, and then you had to kind of you sort of had to sort of write little programs and things to sort of shortcut, I think, to sort of make things easier and creating little processes and stuff. And then I just kind of worked my way up through the company and ended up as a sort of like a technical supervisor.
So you were basically learning from the people around you and just learning the skills as you went.
Yeah, it was like, I suppose it's an unofficial apprenticeship. I was just coming in at the bottom, and I gradually worked my skills up.
Yeah.
They sort of encouraged that in the company that I was working with, so they would send me on courses and workshops and stuff to learn more IT stuff. I still longed to do the military, but then that's when I joined the TA as well as a reservist.
Okay.
In my part time.
So were you doing a lot of sports? Because obviously, if you join the forces, generally you need to have a relatively good fitness. So you're doing a bit of sport at the same time.
Not really. I just fancied being a bit wary and a bit of a soldier. That was. Well, I was fit, and so I ended up trying to join. I say trying to join because I didn't quite get in. I was trying to join a signals regiment, and at the time, I wasn't quite as fit, and I failed a couple of the runs. And they said, "Oh, we really like you, but come back in 6 months and try the next intake." And I thought, I can't be bothered to wait. So I continued training to get fitter, and I ended up becoming a medic at the Royal Army Medical Corps.
Okay.
And I was joined the sort of the process of learning how to do all the first aid, but then I was a class 2 medic, so you would actually do intubation, take blood, give blood, putting in drips and all the rest of it. So it was pretty hands-on, and we learned some pretty useful skills, life skills, that sort of thing. And then that's kind of running in parallel. I was loving the fact that I could do my warry stuff at the weekends and then still earn a good wage in the IT. And then eventually got to the point where I was, right, I'm kind of at the top of that sounds really bad. I was at the top of where I could go within that company. Yeah. And then it was a time to sort of think, right, what do I do next? And then I thought, I'm going to move. This was down, sorry, I didn't say this, but I was down in Chichester in West Sussex.
Okay.
And I thought the whole thing, the big lights of the big city. And then I decided that I was going to move to London and find a higher paid job.
So you still haven't been to Australia yet?
No, not
never
been.
went.
Never went. I mean, if we went back even further, then yes, I have been to Australia, but I was literally a baby.
But when obviously you had that idea later on,
yeah,
I'm going to make the money and go.
I've not been back since. I've been to lots of other places, but not Australia. And then, so I then decided I was going to move to London, and I started working for Reuters, the news agency, and I just sort of fell into exactly the same pattern of doing the IT kind of work, and then sort of continued to sort of develop my skills in IT and eventually problem management. So investigating why things could go wrong, and then so it was an investigation role, and I would then project manage how we were going to stop that from happening again.
I bet that was fascinating as well, because obviously you've got all the stuff that's going on around the world coming in left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Obviously, the IT department is a centre of technology, the hub of the whole.
Oh, hugely! Network. Yeah, we were based in Docklands, just adjacent to Canary Wharf, and if you imagine when you see those films of mission control in NASA, that's what the office looked like. You had the big screen up, and then it was like rows and rows of computers, and then we had all satellite feeds and everything that we were monitoring. And I just, as I said, I started just as an operator, just loading tapes, writing programs. Then I became what's called a controller, So you would more of a kind of a supervisory role where you're monitoring the networks and stuff, and then eventually a problem analyst. So like looking at something would go wrong, everyone would run around, get it up and running again, then I would come in, or not me personally, but my team we would look at, well, why did it happen? How do we prevent it from happening? Was it human error? Was it a software bug? And then it was about project managing to making sure we could fix it, like building contingencies and stuff like that. It was great, but it was also to the point again where I got bored again of, well, I'm not really doing anything for me. I'm either making people money or saving people money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was at with that. Meanwhile, in the TA, I had transferred to another unit. I was now part of the Honourable Artillery Company, which was the role was it's like a surveillance role. So it was very, very cool role because you would get trained to do behind the line stuff. And I've actually been through the resistance to interrogation thing, like you see on the TV show SAS Who Dares Wins. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And they get interrogated. I've actually been through that. Not anywhere near the scale that those guys do.
So how much time? So if once you join the TA, which is the Territorial Army in the UK, so what's involved? Obviously, you have training. Obviously, you did training. Obviously, at the medical corps, and then did you have like long weekends, or do you have time away from work which is allocated to go off to do a number of weeks?
Yeah, a bit of both actually. So I would use my weekends where we would go away on various exercises, and there was a commitment level of, I think you had to do at least a minimum of 6 weekends a year, plus a 2-week annual camp. I would do more, but with the 2-week annual camp, work would actually give you an extra week. So you'd get you'd take 5 days of your own leave, and then 5 days the job would actually give.
So the employer would always give you.
Yeah, I think there might have been some government scheme that would support those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we would go away on various camps and exercises over the following years, where got to travel, a lot of Germany, France, and sort of various other places that we trained it with, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's you go into work on a Monday. What did you do at the weekend? I went down the pub. And what did you do, Graham? Well, I abseiled out of a helicopter, or I drove a Land Rover at the back of a C-130 Hercules, and on the ground, obviously, not And it would be like, really? I mean, yeah, because it was something a little bit different. It was. I think that's where I got the love of sort of pushing yourself, taking yourself out of your comfort zone, and pushing yourself physically, and then like learning all this new crazy stuff that we would do. We did a lot of. I was trained in signals, so we were learning about antenna propagation, and I did Morse code. They don't even teach that anymore in the minute. I did Morse code, and I could send and receive up to about 12 words per minute, which is pretty good going. I remember it all, but I've probably lost the skill of being able to send it as quick as that these days. But yeah.
Lots of skills that can be used, and I'm sure you're using some of them up to today.
Yeah, good leadership skills as well.
It's leadership skills. I think it's for me what I not admire in people, but it's that self-reliance. It was down to me to make sure that I had every bit of equipment that I needed. So there was a lot of being prepared, the Boy Scout kind of attitude of just sort of self-reliance. I wasn't having to rely on other people to get things done. I would do it myself. Yeah. And if I didn't know how to do something, then I would learn how to do it and then do it. I think that was a very big part of what you learned in the military. That self-discipline, being focused, getting the job done, having a work ethic, which meant that if the ball's dropped, even though it might not be my responsibility to pick up that ball, I'll pick it up and run with it till I find what else I need to do with it.
And I guess that's really important, because obviously in life skills, to be able to find a way out of a situation, if you've got something you're not sure how to do it, you haven't always got someone around you can ask. I mean, obviously today everyone uses AI to find things, but like in the day, you didn't have that. You had to find out, and you had to learn how to do stuff.
Yeah.
And you had to ask people all the time, how do I do that? And if you didn't, you had to. And obviously, if you're in a military situation, you could be out and about and in a situation, and there's only you to sort it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's that whole I think it's very much about the mental side of doing that. I'm not saying that I would encourage. I mean, my son hints at it now. He's 15, and I might think about the army. And I wouldn't stop him if he wanted to do that. But it's not about the military stuff. It's about what it teaches you as a person. It's that self-reliance, the resilience is hugely important. Confidence, and just having a more positive outlook about, well, if I can't do it, a stoic outlook almost,
Yeah, it is.
I can't change what's going on around me, but I can change how I react to it. And I think that was a big lesson learned from the military as well.
And it's also, it gives you a self-discipline. Obviously, everyone talks in the military about being under a disciplinarian regime where you have to obey your immediate line commander. But actually, that discipline sets you up for life in terms of being disciplined to do things in a structured way.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, in the 8th Honourable Artillery Company, you would work in very, very small teams anyway. So you were kind of left to your own devices depending on what you were doing. So you had to kind of think for yourself. You couldn't just... to get into the Sabre squadrons, you had to do this kind of massive long weekend over the Brecon Beacons, and you're on your own. So it's not a case if you're working in teams or pairs or whatever. You're literally, right, where's the next grid reference? You'd tell them, and then they'll say, right, it's over there. You would show them where you were, where you got to go, and then you would have to go and do it on your own. So you had to think for yourself. You had to be reliant on your own abilities to actually get the job done and get to where, to the location safely without really mucking up your map reading.
So obviously, while you were working with Reuters and you were doing this, so how long did the two things sort of work in parallel?
So I'd done, obviously, before we moved to London, I'd been a few years in the Royal Army Medical Corps. So in total, when I moved to London, it was about 10 years. So I was 10 years at Reuters and then 10 years roughly within the Honourable Artillery Company.
Does this mean you didn't have a weekend free?
You would have some weekends free, but it was a case.
The way how you were explaining and the way how you excited you were for your weekends as well, it was like they give you all that you need, obviously, like to recharge and whatever.
Not often. You might get back late on a Sunday, and then it'll be first thing I'll be at work on a Monday morning. So
but you were all right back at that time, which that was enough and good for you.
It was pretty tiring, but it was what I'd learned, the fun that I'd had, the adventure that I'd been on, just gave you that sort of, I'm here and work on a Monday morning. And it was that back to what I said earlier about, what did you do at the weekend? Well, I did this, and this.
The thing is, you would be physically fit and mentally fit at the same time.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah.
But I was bored at work. That was the thing. I got to a point where I wasn't really enjoying the work, and then I was like considering, well, maybe I could go full time in the military. I've built up all this experience. But then what happened was my wife's cousin was joining the police, and we one day had a conversation, and he said, "Oh, you'd make a good police officer." And I went, "No way would I want to join the police or anything like that." And by sheer coincidence, I was walking through, I was in Bexley Heath, walking through town, and there was one of those kind of little stands. It was a recruitment stand for the Special Constabulary, so part-time police officers.
Yeah.
So I'm walking past it, and then obviously one of these officers basically sort of started talking to me about, you could consider it's like it's not full-time, it's part-time, and and I just... Really, I'm not that interested at this point. He said, well, come along to our open evening and see what you think. So I went along to the opening and I thought, actually, this is pretty good fun. This sounds like a laugh to me. So I thought, and by that time, I'd also left the Territorial Army.
Okay.
Mainly because it was the commitment, as you were mentioning earlier, it was quite high. And it was that balance of, I've just got married and I don't want to get a divorce straight away because I'm away every other weekend.
This is what I mean. This when I ask, because these are the years that you will have a girlfriend, you will have a wife.
Yeah, so that happened, and I had to reevaluate what was important. So I think I missed that service, adventure, or excitement. So I joined the Special Constabulary. So I was a Special Constable for it was about 18 months in total. Really enjoyed it. I met some really, really cool friends. My mate Joe, my mate Keith, they were two of my best friends. And hopefully they'll watch this and go, "Ugh." But we just formed this bond, and we kind of just had all these adventures as Special Constables, and we had a lot of fun. And from not breaking the rules, that sounds really awful in the video, but we would have some quite good fun with things. And it was when the police was probably a little bit more. They still had their sense of humour about things, and we were all still professional, but things were a little bit less political now than they are nowadays. But anyway, so we went through this process, and then after a while, I just thought, "Do you know what? I think I could do this full time." And both my mates Joe and Keith, we all went, "Yeah, well, I've always wanted to do it." Joe's
all joined at the same time.
So we all joined at the same time.
Is that an easy option to do? So if you do become a Special Constable, then you can graduate and go into the...
I don't know what it's like nowadays, but okay. it was we all ended up at Hendon, because Hendon doesn't even exist anymore. So we all ended up at Hendon, not on the same course, but we were all, certainly me and Joe, we were kind of overlapped. So he was on the course in front of me, but then for whatever reason, we ended up being on the same course. So, and then Keith joined, I think it was a few months later, and then we all went all on our separate ways.
So Hendon, that's in North London.
Yeah.
That's the area where they used to have like this, like for training for the police, for the whole
police. So we had the sort of 18, 19 weeks where you're based at Hendon. So that was, you would get weekends off, but you would be there in residential back then. I don't know if they still do that. It's not really... what I'm aware of, but we were there literally for that length of time, and it was a case of us come Friday afternoon. It was, so come Friday afternoon, it was like everyone would like bomb burst and go home, and some people didn't because they were from miles away. But I always used to try and get home on the weekends, and you did all our training. I don't think they get anywhere near as much training as they do or did when I got trained up as a police officer. I think it's very different now. And if you ask me if I would join today, the answer would be no. Most definitely not. I do feel for the police at the moment, but they don't get a good rep these days. Some of these videos that go around and you see people making mistakes, and it's not necessarily their fault. They're still human beings, and they're just doing a job, and it's not their fault that perhaps they haven't had the training or the mentorship that I had when I joined the police. We were.
Well, of course, in those days, nothing was really filmed, so you did your job and you got on with it. Whereas today, pretty much everything is accountable
nowadays. And I think that whilst there's two sides to the sword of it, is that yes, it's brilliant because it helps evidentially. It can help sort of not sway opinions, because it shows things objectively rather than it's subjective, and I think that's a great thing. But on the flip side is that people are less likely to do things the way that perhaps they should sometimes. They hold back, or they're frightened to say something because in fear of it might actually upset someone. And one of the courses, one of the training aspects at Hendon way back when was it was called effective communication. So it was about talking to people to get the job done. So that could be I'll kind of do it as an example. If there's like a bunch of Millwall fans and it's all kicking off, do you think, "Oh, good afternoon, gentlemen. Would you mind stepping onto the pavement, please? Because we need to keep..." That's not going to work, is it?
Nobody will listen.
No. So you have to adapt your communication style to talk to them in a language that they understand. So there would be swearing. I would swear at people, but it was about communicating. It was about, these guys, every other word starts with an F or a C. They're not going to be, "Oh, there's been an altercation." It's right. What the hell's going on?
Behave yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But even worse than that, Millwall. I'm not nothing against Millwall fans because I used to police the place, but it was that whole thing. Nowadays, you would, swearing out loud in a situation would get you into trouble. I still argue that, well, it's not effective communication then, is it? If we're not being effective as a police officer, then how can you connect with the community that you're in? And when I say community, I'm talking about that situation, community of football fans, a community of this or that. It doesn't matter, but you'd have to be ready to adapt under those circumstances.
But also, your communication skills, because of what you learnt in the TA, would also be you would have a way about you that would actually show authority.
Yeah, it's about that, having that presence of mind, and that I guess the military taught me that sort of not stoicism, but that kind of, right, we've got a job to do, let's do it. It's we're gonna focus on getting the job done and doing it in the professional way.
Yeah.
And that obviously follows through into the police, where you're in situations that are hugely stressful when there's things all going wrong.
Especially if everyone's been drinking or whatever, then it becomes confrontational.
Drinking is one. Also, like when you talk about protests and things like that, people they get this kind of hive mentality. You know, they could be like really nice professional people by day, and then they'll go on one of these protests because they believe in whatever it is, and that's totally right and absolutely. But they become more hostile. They get sort of drawn into the environment, and then they become part of the mass, and you'll find people ending up doing really stupid things and reacting poorly because they're in that mass group.
Escape to luxury at Hempstead House Hotel and Spa, an elegant country house hotel in Bapchild, near Sittingbourne, Kent. Relax with indulgent spa treatments. Dine in style with exquisite cuisine. Perfect for getaways, weddings and events. Experience luxury in the heart of Kent. Book your stay today.
Be the first to discover Kent's best events all in one free app. What's On in Kent is a new and rapidly growing app where you can find days out information, places to eat, festivals, concerts, markets, and much more around you. Just with few clicks on your phone or computer, you can stay updated with real-time info and explore events across Kent. Don't even think twice. Just download. It's free.
It's interesting, isn't it? Protesting and being disruptive are two things which sort of like, I can't protest unless I'm disruptive. And sort of, so it automatically the two things go together, don't they?
It's a very divisive kind of subject that I'm probably not going to get into. But there's I might believe something, you might believe something, somebody else might believe something, and that's totally fine. I think everyone's entitled to believe that what they want to believe in, but that belief is none of my business, and therefore it's.
But it's teaching you again, dealing with people and dealing with the situation.
Communication, effective communication, as we used to call it in the police. It's just being able to talk and deal with situations that could be nice situations or hugely stressful situations where you've got to think on your feet. You've got to kind of react in the right way. You've got to be professional. I was generally more standoffish in the sense of turning up at an incident when there's all chaos going off. You might want to hold yourself back just for a moment, just to kind of assess the situation and then react. Others would go straight in. I've always been more sort of, what's the old acronym for first? Doctor's ABC, right? Check, look, danger. Right, okay, now I know, I can sense this. And then you can adapt what you need to do from that point onwards. So I think that I learned a lot of being able to be calm in a stressful situation. I think that's
what's happened with the business knowledge and business. What you learn about business during the years. Did you had these thoughts? Do you want to do something for yourself?
No. Which is what I can see where you're going. You're trying to lead me on to, but seriously, I didn't really think I was at the time in the police. Certainly the early years in the police, I was loving it. I really enjoyed the excitement, and some of it was pretty horrible, but then some of it was absolutely lovely as well.
And did you always stay sort of like on the beat, on active, or did you do different things within the police? Because there's obviously lots of areas, isn't there?
Yeah, mainly on the beat. So when I say on the beat, I was joined a response team. So the first 6 months, I wasn't even allowed inside a car because that's how we were probationers were taught. You had to get out and go and find process, go and do work and stuff like that. And then eventually, after a few years, I got my driving, so I did the response driving around. Well, not that you ever drove that far or fast, because you're in southeast London. I was in Southwark, so
Yeah.
I did a bit of time with the case progression unit, so it's kind of sits in between CID, so they deal with kind of lower end cases, or they would sort of take over a case in custody. So you might not be as an arresting officer, I might just put them in, write up my notes, and then they'll be left for CPU to come and then deal with, kind of thing. They do the interviews and stuff. So I did all the interviews and all that for a while. And then I kind of finished. Oh, then I did probably about 6 months on the sort of, I forget what we called it, street duties. It was called it back then. I don't know if it still is, but it's like the probationers when they first come out of training school. They would have like a few weeks where they would settle into the borough, and then I was one of the kind of the mentors or sort of instructors, if you like. And sort of helping new PCs get used to their role and getting them out doing work and signing them off to that they were able to do a stop and search, or they were able to do a bit of project. They were able to arrest someone, and I was there to assess them and kind of things. And then I finished up as part of Safer Neighbourhoods. So, which was I enjoyed that, but I was struggling, and well, I'll tell you why I was struggling in a bit. But I quite enjoyed that, being able to sort of really engage with people in the community and understand what they needed. There was one particular chap who was like a nemesis to a lot of police officers. He would put in complaints for everybody, and a lot of the senior management didn't like him because he was always stirring the pot up and causing problems. But rightly so, because he was caring for, he was fighting his corner for his community. And I became part of the team that was responsible for the area that he lived in. And he said, you're guaranteed you'll get a complaint within the next few weeks. I went, all right, okay. Well, this I'm not going to prejudge. And lo and behold, I got a complaint. And I thought, no, I'm not having that. So I went round his house and I sat down with him and I spoke to him, and we had it out and we became friends. And we then started to work together. We started to look at what I could do to support him in the community, and the problems that were happening, a lot of robberies, a lot of drugs in the area that he lived in. And it just meant that you were building those bridges and actually sort of making a good impression of what the police should be doing, which was like listening to the customers and acting on it whenever you could, and building up the picture so that you could go and get warrants to do crack house closures and things like that. And I really enjoyed that kind of work. But things were changing, and the police was being stretched further. There was all sorts of internal problems within the police. The pension thing came up, and people were like, well, I'm not going to... There was a lot of... Morale was quite low. And, of course, all of this was going on. I wasn't particularly happy, and I've kind of jumped ahead a little bit, and I'll come back in a second. But this is what I was getting from a work perspective. So I guess that leads on how I ended up leaving the police and being a photographer.
Honestly, just get into one.
I know, we're only just getting into this.
No, I'll tell you what is really fascinating since I'm listening, and that's why I don't know what to ask you and to say, because I didn't do well with school. I didn't like it. I did business. And then you start a new progress and a great career like in IT, which nowadays is one of the best places people are working, isn't it? But is that clear example that you just got on a job, you learn, and if you're on the right place where people help you and support you, you can do it even without being study IT or computers at school. You'll fancy them back then. You just progress into businesses quite well. And this is what I was thinking. And I'm like, after that, obviously, military, police, and I'm still thinking in my mind, where exactly the photography will fit with all this?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like we can change. There are points in our life that lead, and because you obviously had that sense of almost sense of adventure, which obviously took the TA, and obviously the similarities in some ways between obviously the TA and being active and doing things and talking to people and communication. They're both active roles, and then going into the police doing the similar thing, and they're both around discipline, which is interesting. But obviously, the IT side of it is completely different, all going along in parallel in the background.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
And
To
I like the courage when you say, I just wasn't happy, I didn't enjoy it
Yeah.
anymore, and I made a step. During these times when you were changing roles or jobs, did you have people, how do people around you react, like family, partner?
What, when I wanted to leave, or
Yes,
or how
when you
I-
wanted to leave and to change the job because you're not happy, what was
Okay.
their way?
At the time, because there was another underlying factor, which I'll talk about in a moment, everyone said that it was the right thing to do because I wasn't in a good place. I mean, we'd sort of to the point of being sick.
Is that the police when
Yeah.
you're leaving? Okay.
Yeah.
But
So I was ill because of the stress, and there's some underlying reasons for that, but all of that got to the point where the safest thing for me to do was to leave. Because it just I'm in a toxic. I'm not saying the environment's toxic, but it was toxic for me.
Yes.
I wasn't happy. I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
If I had carried on, I probably would have. I don't know. I would have left eventually, but it wouldn't have been a very pleasant journey. So I just decided that I needed to get away. Well, it was more about not. Excuse me. More about not about getting away from it, but going towards what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I mean. When you want, even if you change from the first IT company to Reuters, even that change when you're doing, people were supporting around you, or you don't think too much what they will say. You were following a bit more your inner voice and what you want to do.
I think inner voice first, but then everyone was supportive. And I
Because
was,
very often this could play a role, because you can have people who be like, yeah, of course, go and do whatever you want, but you
Yeah.
can have people on the other side which will be, when we say people, I would talk about the closest ones. They might be, no, you're really doing well here, stay here, do this. This is where who did you listen, and what was your
sure.
um
I think my own mind was made up. So even if I had that, and I didn't, my family was always been supportive.
that's great.
I will say, I want to do this. I want to go in that direction, and then everyone's supportive of it. I mean, there were people that thought I was completely balmy when I said that I was going to leave the police, and were like, "No, don't. You shouldn't leave. It's a great job. It's a pension. It's you're going to lick. You've got that regular money coming in." And I just thought, yes, I hear what you're saying,
But it's
but
not
the
my
benefit is still not going to beat me doing what I want to do, because that was killing me. I was dying inside in terms of where I was mentally, and considering everything that you would think mentally strong from all the previous experiences, but then when you have a huge knock as well in life, it even the strongest of minds can sort of break, and I was on that point at the time.
Yeah.
So the photography.
yes.
Right. Okay. I've always been interested in photography, so it's always been there as a little hobby. I was back in the day, not like today, where everyone's got phones and it's all digital. I was the annoying one who always had a camera in their pocket and would like snap people in, like doing drunk, stupid things and all the rest of it when we were at college. So I always had that love of photography. And then in 2009, early 2009, we already had my daughter Sydney, and then we were pregnant with our next child. And I was like, yeah, really excited. So I'm going to bought myself a new camera, thinking I'm going to get loads of like lovely shots and all the rest of it. And it just cut right to the chase. We lost Scarlett in childbirth. So
In childbirth.
well, full term.
Yeah.
So it was the whole, and I can talk about it because I obviously you guys know that I do stuff with various charities now.
Yeah.
And it was everything was fine. There was no sort of problems throughout the pregnancy or anything like that. And I remember getting the elbow. Yeah, I think we better get down to the hospital. Things are happening. Right, okay, get down to the hospital. All excited, all the rest of it. Into the, where they're putting the ultrasound on, and they couldn't find heartbeat. So So they went, and then somebody else came in, obviously more senior. Then they've gone out, and then like looks like just someone in a suit, like literally just been woken up, kind of things, early hours in the morning, and then they just basically went, "No, I'm really sorry, but you've lost the baby." I kind of went into a bit of shock then. I don't remember too much. All I remember was the consultant hugging me, and I just kind of went numb from all of that, because we still got to give, well, not me, but physically, my wife still got to give birth to a baby. And I know it sounds weird to say it, but we don't get the prize, you know. It's that horrible sense of,
I think this is just
going through that process. And I won't go into all the details throughout that, but obviously we got to this point, and in one sense we were fortunate we actually got a reason, and it's rare, but she had a double knot in her cord. So she's obviously spinning around, and it got into a knot. So when it's time for the baby to move down, so right, all right, that's it, I'm coming now. Baby's moved down, the knot tightens. And then obviously that stops all the nutrients, oxygen, and everything else, and that's what it was. So she was full term.
Wow.
And we lost her. So I'm going to move forward a little bit, but
very difficult for everybody.
Huge. So it's like a massive knock to your life. You don't know what to do. There's no instruction manual. There's no what to do with no instruction when anyone dies, to be fair. But when you lose your baby, it's really difficult to sort of compute. And then you deal with everybody else. Nobody knows how to talk to you. Everyone's sort of there. It'll be all right. You'll get better with time. You just want to punch them in the face. And I'm not a violent person in that sense, but that's how you feel.
Yeah, because no one can feel.
And no one can be on your place, whatever they say or they do. But you're right that sometimes you don't know how to react and what to say.
And I get that. And I forgive people when they say something because they don't know how to react. And they say something that's going to be, in their mind, their set of filters, their life would be comforting, isn't necessarily going to be comforting.
Because you have to grieve in your own way. That's the only
Hugely.
way. Yeah.
How this affect you and your wife?
It's a massive problem. It's a problem because we're separate people, although we are married, we are still separate people. So you grieve at different times. So one day I could be down and she'd be okay, and then that can change. It puts a huge strain on relationships, huge strain. And again, we'll cover it a little bit later, but I do work with a charity called Strongmen, which is about men and bereavement. And one of the common factors that I found is that quite often it does put a huge amount of strain on people's relationships. Luckily for me, we've come through that and we're still together, but it's tough. It's hugely tough on what you're going through. And so this all happened December, so like literally a week before Christmas. And then you're going into Christmas, and then you're trying to be happy or trying to create a nice Christmas for my other daughter, Sydney. And this is all going on. Now, the job, I was still in the police at this point, so they were actually pretty good to start with. They, take all the time you need, take the time off, and they offered counselling services as well. And so you kind of go through that process. I found the counselling, it was all meaningful to a certain extent, but it felt like, well, you've had your 6 sessions, rubber stamp, get back to work. That's how it felt. I'm not saying that was the case, but that's how it felt to me. Then I was back at work. And then initially I was on the training team, so part of the street duties thing. But then eventually you're dealing with horrible stuff again. Yeah. You're going to domestics, you're going to... So I didn't really deal with it properly. I didn't grieve in the way that I needed to grieve. And I just kind of went, all right, stiff upper lip, man up, get on with it, get back to work. And that's kind of what I did. Got to be strong for everybody else. So I'm not thinking about my own, what my needs as being vulnerable or whatever way you want to put it. But what I found, I didn't realise at the time, but now in hindsight I can say what was happening was that I was becoming more and more angry. because you would deal with a situation. For example, it might be a neighbour dispute, or it might be some kind of domestic argument, and they'll be arguing over something ridiculous. And all I'm thinking is, why don't you shut the hell up? Because that's nothing.
Do you realise what I've been going through? Have you got any idea what, like, you think you've got problems, but
Exactly
this is like, and you can
you're sort of you're arguing over something that's pointless. There's no point in this argument. It's no one's going to win. It's not even. It's ridiculous. You're wasting everybody's time by arguing this point. There's more important things that in life that would be worth fighting for, arguing for, and that was ongoing. So it's a compound effect, isn't it? You're just dealing with crap, and more crap, and more crap. You're dealing with people on their lowest point. You're dealing with horrible criminals who. So it's all negative. We've got the other underlying thing, which is things were changing in the place. It was becoming. I felt that it was becoming more politicised. It was. You're asked to do more for less. You're constantly being pulled away from your responsibilities. So, for example, I wanted to work with the community. That was my role. You're supposed to be ring fenced and kept in that role, but no, you would get pulled up and have to go and do something else. And so I was kind of feeling that I'm in a job that I'm not able to do my job to the extent that I want to do it at. I've got all this underlying anger and grief and not dealing with it properly, bubbling underneath. And that was for the next few years, just constant. And
few years.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't realise. But then a little stream on top of that was that we initially got involved with a charity called SANDS, stillbirth and neonatal death charity. It's all about babies and stillborn and stuff like that. And we met a couple that were going through exactly the same thing, pretty much the same sort of time, within like a few days of each other. And you went to one of these meetings. I didn't really get much from these meetings. It wasn't my thing. I just felt uncomfortable. When you imagine you've got a load of couples sitting around a circle.
Yeah. Everyone's got to tell their story.
Yeah. And I didn't feel that it was for me. However, we met this couple, and the Amanda was a wedding photographer. Through conversation, she said, you're into photography, you're interested in photography and stuff like that. I went, yeah, it's something that I like to do. And she said, well, maybe you can give me a hand one day on a wedding, or help out, sort of thing. I went, sure. So I did. So I helped out. And it was the reverse feeling of all the crap that I was dealing with to spending a day.
And someone's happiest day of their
Exactly.
life.
And so it's almost, you could say it's a cheat. It's cheating almost, but it made me feel good.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't feeling good in anything else that I was doing.
No, exactly.
So I was quite heavily overweight as well. So it was all these factors are all negative. But the one thing that was positive was this photography business.
Yeah.
Not business, but at the time it was just, I thought, this is great. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
So I sort of continued to do that every now and again, bit of photography. So that was kind of the only instant relief I was getting, like helping out on these little jobs. Now, there's a thing with the police, is that if you earn any money outside of the police, you have to declare it as a business interest. So I thought, well, people are now starting to offer me money. They're saying, oh, you're a photographer, you can do this, you can do that. Oh, maybe you could do this for us. So at this point, I had no website, I had nothing. It was just word of mouth, people asking me to do more and more stuff. And, but because people wanted to give me money, I had to declare it as a business interest. Yeah. Even though I wasn't intending on setting up a business, I just thought it was just like a bit of fun. A paid hobby, almost, that makes me feel nice, away from all the other stuff that was going in my head. So I declared it as a business interest. And as soon as I did that, it became a thing. It was like, it's an entity now, a business interest called Graham Baker Photography. So even though it wasn't technically a business, it became one by registering it with the police to say that I'm earning a little bit of extra cash here and there. on my weekends off and my days off. And that's how it started. And then it just grew and grew and grew and grew, and it snowballed. And then because I was doing that, I was more interested in the photography. I was losing the interest in the police because I hated the way it made me feel. And then the photography was that kind of break, if you like, that sort of helped me to do it. And it grew organically. I had no intention of running myself as a business. I had no intention of being an entrepreneur. I had no intention whatsoever. It was just a hobby that people wanted to give me some money for, that made me feel good, to take me away from all the other crap that I was dealing with.
And obviously, when you go and start to do wedding photos, this is quite important moment for the people as well. Did you done any courses during the time? Have you done anything specific, or you were just listening the inner voice of Graham Watt and how to do?
At the time, no, I just went for it. It was, I guess it was what you asked me earlier about having experience in the police and experience in the military. It was a case of, well, how hard can it be? I'll give it a go and see what happens.
I love this.
And just sort of that, the whole say yes and then worry about it later. We've said some famous, Richard Branson said something like that, didn't he? But just say yes and worry about how to actually do it. Right, I better learn how to do this pretty damn quick, kind of thing. And that's,
this is one thing stop lots of people to do and try lots of things.
Yeah,
that mentality.
It's the mentality.
That they need to make it perfect from day one.
Yeah.
Which is...
You don't. You just got to go for it. And then,
for how many years now you've got the photography business?
Well, so that started, so we lost Scarlett in 2009. So officially it was, I can't remember when.
Yeah,
during
maybe around
2010.
15 years.
Yeah, 15 years at least. So,
sounds good. Yeah,
it does, yeah.
hustle,
Yeah, absolutely.
hobby for the weekend.
yeah.
15 years.
But
Who knows where that goes?
it just snowballed. So I had this in one hand, the stuff that made me feel good. I was still struggling with a lot of other stuff, and it was still, the weight was like this very much, but this was keeping that thread alive, if you like, keeping me kind of grounded a bit.
Back then, did you start to realize, because obviously I honestly don't remember back then, did people talk about that mental health a bit more about men and that they are allowed to struggle as well, or not? How did you find for yourself that you had this, you needed to stop with that, I need to be strong. Obviously, I am a human being and I've got this problem at the moment. Not as a problem, I don't know how to describe it, but that you suffer with all these things and you need to help yourself.
I think the problem at the time was I didn't realise I needed help. I just thought that I was just a grumpy old sod kind of thing. It was that kind of vibe that I was, but in hindsight, I wasn't particularly nice to be around, to be quite honest. And it was only when it was towards the end of sort of, I hadn't quite left the police, and I remember this was a kind of like that brought it all to a head. I remember doing this job. It was a warrant, and so we'd investigated it. We'd pulled the intelligence together. I was the investigating officer. We'd researched it. We've got the criminal intelligence enough to get the warrant. I've gone to court. I've gone to the judge. He says, I want to go into this address because we believe there's a cannabis factory there. I presented the evidence and he went, yeah, that's enough. Signed it off. We executed the warrant. It was a great job. It was a whole flat was just turned into a cannabis factory. Wow. I don't know what the value was, but it was a lot. You could see the ingenuity of, I mean, if they'd applied it to sort of like an engineering thing, they would probably be doing quite well. But
yeah.
And I felt nothing. I remember standing outside the address and we were kind of wrapping up. And I just thought, I feel absolutely nothing. I should have been like, what a good job. Yeah. We've taken all these drugs off the street. We've got some arrests in. We've shut down this address that's causing problems in the neighbourhood. I didn't feel anything. I just felt completely and utterly numbed. And I remember going home and just been like, whatever. And then I went sick. I couldn't get out of bed. And then went to the doctors. Yep, you've got depression. I was having problems sleeping. So sleeping pills, antidepressants, and that was me then, and I was going down that line. Still had the photography. When I was doing the photography, fine,
You're fine, yeah.
but everything else was going downhill quite quickly. I got more counselling and stuff. Didn't really work for me. Being in a no disrespect to these comfy chairs, but that's what it was like. We were sitting in a room and with comfy chairs, and it didn't really do anything for me. And I think that was the point where I was like, I've got to do something now. This is the point you were talking about. But all that time building up to it, I didn't even realise what was happening to me mentally.
So did you come across? Did you find someone to help you
help
along
you,
this?
yeah.
Because obviously it's a huge thing, isn't it? And particularly for men, because like you said earlier, when not really allowed to grieve, not allowed to have any emotions. Just get on with it, like stiff up the lip. Just keep going. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
But actually, we should be allowed to either to cry or to feel empty and to find a way. I mean, there's no way. I mean, everyone like you said, everyone reacts differently.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
No. So did you find a really good place for support and help?
Yes and no. I didn't find it as such. It was more my wife, Sam. So the context is that, as I said earlier, I was in the TA. So I was always interested in TV programs that revolved around military and stuff like that. They still had interest for me. So I watched the TV series SAS Who Dares Wins.
Yeah.
And social media, you follow their account. And then one day I was on social media. It was Instagram, I remember it. And I saw this post saying, Strongmen. We're looking for guys who've, who've been through a bereavement and who are struggling.
Yeah.
And I showed Sam. I said, look at that. And she went, you're doing it. You've got to put your name for it. So, and what it entailed, which sounds ridiculous when you say it to people, was we're going away for the weekend. We're going to go to Snowdon for a weekend with a bunch of other blokes. But that was it. There wasn't very much information about it. So you're thinking, well, how can going for a bimble in the hills going to help me mentally? How is that going to support me? I filled in the application form and sort of put my story, told them about losing Scarlett, and I said that I've had, at the time I was about 18 stone. I was a big lump, overweight, unfit, off work, depressed, on antidepressants. And so I filled in the application and I got accepted on this. It was their very, very first weekend. It was a brand new charity. It was created, then it was still a CIC. It was created from two contestants that were on the show, on the SAS Who Dares Win show. It was a guy called Ephraim and a guy called Dan. They were both on different series, but Ephraim was the founder effectively, and Dan as well. Although he stepped back nowadays for his own reasons, and that's cool. But Ephraim's son was killed in Afghanistan, and that's why he went on to the TV show to sort of do that military type thing, to kind of connect, to see some of the feeling that he had with his son. So anyway, long story short, they created this charity called Strongmen, and it was, I guess the idea was peer support. It's we're not counsellors, we're not this, we're not with that. We're just a group of people that have all been through some form of trauma, through losing a loved one, whether that be your best mate in the military or it doesn't matter who, but you've lost and you've struggled to deal with it as a bloke. So that was the premise.
Then you're walking along, I don't know, climbing, whatever you're doing, together and sharing what's going on.
Oh, it's when you say it, it's like, well, climbing a mountain's going to
No, but I get it, because you're in a situation, rather than sitting in a room saying, hi, I'm Graham, this is my situation.
Didn't work for me.
And I get it, because you're in a situation where you're actually helping one another as you're doing something, as you're doing an activity. And again, you're working as a team or doing things as a team, and all of a sudden, when you're walking along, whether it's climbing up Snowdon or whatever it is, but you're talking, and it's like a pair of mates who are going along, actually able to talk and think. And sometimes you might go down the pub, and you might, like in that situation, you talk in a peer group, but like it's sort of you say some things, but you wouldn't say something else. But in that situation, there's nobody else around you. There's no one else judging you.
Right.
You're in a situation where you
And they
can
all
literally
go
just
through
share.
similar
And I get
things.
that. That's I can see why it's a really powerful tool.
And it does work. It works
Yeah.
for me because
Yeah.
it was. Although I came off the motorway driving up 3 times, I came off the motorway, round the roundabout, crossed the road as if I'm going to come back home. Went round the roundabout, went back across, and then we carried on. 3 times I did that.
Thinking, what
That's
am I
the
doing?
first
Yeah.
time when you were
Yeah,
going.
the first time.
And
I
did
went.
you know what you're gonna do?
No.
Or you
And
had just like a meeting point and
yeah, they deliberately kept it. They
not much to tell you
yeah,
what
it was
Quite
meant to
vague.
be. It's fluid. It needed to kind of unravel naturally.
Yeah.
So I finally get there. It was a Friday evening, and it just kind of, it all felt really uncomfortable. We went to the pub, just up the road from like this little campsite. Again, it was okay. There was, but it was still uncomfortable. Nobody was really talking about anything. And then early next morning, you start climbing to the top of Snowdon.
so that was the thing that you need to do.
Yeah, it's the way I look at it now. It's almost like a metaphor. It's a challenge. The people I'm doing with it have all felt challenged in some way, but we're doing it together,
Yeah.
and we're going to overcome this challenge together as a team or as one-on-one. I didn't know anybody. Everyone's from all over the country, and I fell in walking with a guy called Mark. Chocky is his nickname. So if he gets to watch this, he'll get get embarrassed. But he's a top man. And I remember we were just kind of not naturally as you're walking up. I was I was blowing out my arse. I was so unfit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was that I'd get a little bit ahead, and I'd be like, come on, one step in front of the other. And then he would get up, and then I would be struggling. I'd get cramp. And then he'll be like, come on, you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And then through the course of that bond, you started talking about things. And I learned about his loss, and, learned about mine. And I just think that, and I'm looking like this away from you guys, because that was part of it. Because when you're looking up, or you're looking down at your feet, because you've got to be careful, you're not making eye contact.
No.
And I found that people can find it very difficult to start opening up when they're making eye contact
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah. For sure.
You're looking up together,
Yeah.
and then the words start coming out.
Yeah.
And there was no pressure to talk about it. If you didn't want to
No.
talk about what you were struggling with, didn't matter. You're just going for the fresh air, away from everything else, away from the drama of work, away from home, and just with people that have all been through some shit together, effectively.
And you know what? That's one of the things I think. If a lot of people they box themselves up in a situation, and you can, I don't know, stay at home and watch the television, or you spend time on your own, and it just keeps replaying in your head.
Yep.
Everything just keeps replaying in your head,
100%.
and you've got to find a way, and that is a way, because you're not in your environment. You're in an environment where you're exposed. You've got, like you say, you've got to be aware of what's going on around you, but you've got a goal, because there's the top of the mountain. So there's lots of things all going on simultaneously, and it's amazing if you are with someone and you're walking along in that situation, and you start talking about random things. It's amazing what comes out.
It does. And we just form these new bonds.
Yeah.
And we're all...
What happened when you went home?
Well, it was, as I said when I got home, it was... I defined that weekend as, it didn't necessarily get me off of antidepressants. It didn't do that,
Yeah.
but it was the reset to start that journey. And it
Yeah.
was the reset. I call that weekend my reset button. That changed me. And that also then reaffirmed everything that I was kind of going, I need to get out of the place. I need to get away from the toxicity of what I'm doing. And yeah, it's a huge risk. I was lucky that the photography was on the side at the time, and I was, it was earning a little bit of money, and I just thought, no, I'm going to take the risk and and go for it. And there was other things as well. I'm not going to talk about. There was some people that I didn't get on very well with in the police, senior people, and it was time for me to move on.
Yeah.
So it was. I blame Strongmen for me making me leave the police to a certain extent, in a humorous
Which
way.
is absolutely
Yeah, yeah.
in
But
a good way.
yeah,
In a good way.
Yeah.
It was.
Very
It was.
good way.
It was several little pushes that went that sort of directed me to go. Enough's enough. That was probably one of the most profound ones. Was going on that Strongman weekend.
Yeah.
And we're all still part of it. Not everyone. Everyone will get what they need, and then they might move on, and that's totally fine.
But you are still part of the...
Huge. I think it for me, it was again. It's back to that willing to serve. Police, military, whatever. And it's like, well, if you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago about doing something charitable, I'd be like, do-gooders, nah, not interested. I'm like. Now it's, well, they gave me the reset to the better life that I have now. Then
Well,
how
Graham,
about me helping others?
Is it all about grief? Is that the main?
So Strongmen is it's predominantly about bereavement and loss. It's about that. It's about losing somebody. There's another charity that I'm now getting more involved in. It was just kind of a splinter from it because I met the guy who founded this other charity called Man Up Now. And a lot of people sort of balk at the idea of the name Man Up because it's often, but it's almost like the irony of it.
Yeah, it sounds like being macho, but it's not.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's for men, so it needs to be men need to sort of get on board with that, and that's another fantastic chat. But that's a more general kind of mental health charity, and they do a very similar thing. We're going away in a few weeks' time, up to it's very similar. We're going to the Peak District. We're getting out with a group of guys, and just getting away from it all. Conversation, pizza, having a great time, and then hopefully, and there's all different reasons for people to be on that one. But Strongmen is, my base plate, if you like. That's always just about bereavement.
LinkedIn, was it? Now I don't want to say something stupid, but was it Kilimanjaro? Where have you been?
Yes, a couple of years ago, or a little bit before then, Ephraim, the founder, said, "Look, we're coming up to the anniversary of the charity forming." And he suggested we do something big. Let's do something big. Let's raise awareness. Let's raise money for men's mental health, predominantly around bereavement. And the idea came up about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
Off to Tanzania.
Yeah, so it was, the FOMO would be just too much to say no to that. You're gonna put your name forward, and so 2 years ago we. Each one of us were kind of involved with raising money. The key thing is that, when some charities that you have to raise a certain amount of money and we paid for ourselves. We paid for the trips ourselves. Yes, there were sponsors and all the rest of it, and we got some nice sort of we got help with some equipment and things like that. But we predominantly we pretty much paid for our own everything. So any money we made literally goes directly to the charity. So it was all about individually making, raising funds for the charity and just sort of getting out there and doing it. And so we did, and it was, it was life changing. It was an amazing experience. It was.
Kilimanjaro is 5 times higher than Snowdon, so
it's a little bit higher. Unfortunately, not everybody made it because of the altitude sickness.
Yeah, for sure, because that's a big thing as well. Then,
huge. A lot of people, and it's not about how fit you are either. You could be super fit and really struggle. For some reason, I don't know, genetics or whatever, I didn't suffer at all from the altitude sickness. I didn't feel any, other than the fact that there's half the amount of oxygen, so you're puffed out a lot more. In terms of all the other symptoms that sort of associated with that, I didn't get any problems whatsoever. I remember as we were approaching the summit, and I'm like, come on, what we're going to do this, and some of the guys are struggling, and I'm helping some of the other guys up as well. And I just remember
But
that
that's again the thing, isn't it? It's that's all part
it's
of
what
it.
it is. It's
Yeah.
what it is, and
Because the mental, it's another mental challenge
Yeah.
to do something like that. You've got a physical challenge and a mental challenge, and supporting one another, and that's a natural thing. Like, and all of a sudden you're all in it together.
huge. And you're all out of your comfort zone because
Yeah.
you're in some very odd places in terms of like where you're sleeping and stuff, and you've got to get on with it because you're in little bunk houses sometimes, and you.
How long does it take to get to the top?
I'm a little bit woolly around the timings exactly, but I think it was about 6 days
Okay.
to the top and back. It's obviously a lot quicker coming back down,
Yeah.
but you have to acclimatise as you go up. So it's like a few days and you go up through. And what I think I enjoyed about Kilimanjaro is that you go through all these different zones. So you're in a tropical rainforest, then you're in this kind of shrubland kind of desert. Then it's like something out of the moon. It's like Mars, and then he starts getting colder and colder, and then
Snow at the top.
and a little bit of snow at the top. Yeah, it was fascinating, and it was a really cool experience, and I would never forget it. It was just fantastic. And again, those friendships that were formed have developed even further. You know, the fact that we've climbed that.
Yeah.
So that was 2 years ago, and then last year, most people do it the other way around. They climb Toubkal, which is the highest point in North Africa, so that's Atlas Mountains. But we did that last year, so we climbed Mount Toubkal last year, which was equally as a lot of people ask me which one was harder, and I can't really differentiate because they were harder for different reasons. Altitude and length of time, I would say Kilimanjaro is the winner there. But there were some really challenging bits on Toubkal where it's pretty steep, and there's this boulder field that and I didn't like that. My knees were kind of really struggling when we were coming back down, and I did find that quite tough. But it was still an adventure. Crazy things happen. I could bore you with so many really funny stories. I'll mention it, but I'm not going to go into detail. I'll just leave it out there. A one-legged white van man, taxi driver. How does that even compute? I've never seen anything like it. It was the most hilarious thing, but I would never have experienced anything like that. A man with one leg driving a white transit in the middle of Morocco. You just don't see that.
No, you don't see that.
And it was all part of the experience. It was so much. We had such a laugh, and then it's whatever's next. We haven't really come to any conclusions yet on what the next challenge
Is it
will be.
Strongmen as well? Once you found them, obviously they help you to get over lots of the struggles
Sure.
and to get back to that fit guy, and that because when you were telling earlier that you've been, what you said, 13 stones, 18?
I was about 18 stone when I
18
first climbed Snowdon.
stones. As well, people doesn't want to be around me and etc.
No.
I meet you and you're a really nice guy, and I can't
Well, thank you.
I can't believe how this
Well,
could be. But imagine how much you can change. And would you mind to say how old you were back then, like roughly?
When I was in the police,
When was that exactly the changing time when you found the
the beginning of-
charity?
that will be. Crikey, I've lost count. 6, 7 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's.
I mean that it's a bit like to the listeners that everybody, I'm sure, are going through different things in their life, but it's a bit like example that doesn't matter what's happening.
Yeah.
You've got that moment that you can find what is your thing to make you feel better, and doesn't matter how old you are you male, female, you can do it. And this is more about my question that is clearly showing that everything is possible. And look at that, 6 years later, you look like, first of all, you're climbing these mountains. And the positivity that you look and the way that you talk, all this is totally, I'm pretty sure if I met you 10 years ago, you would be totally different person.
It's hugely different, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not.
No.
The reset happened on that very first Strongmen weekend, and then everything is kind of developed going forward. You know, the relationships with with the friends that I now have with Strongmen is unbreakable. You know, we've done these crazy adventures together. We've climbed Kilimanjaro, we've climbed Toubkal together. We've got other plans coming up. I don't know nothing's been defined yet what the next big adventure is, but I'm sure there'll be some crazy thing that we'll be up to. We'll be out doing things. We've got the charity does a lot of other stuff as well. They have their own counsellors now, so there's a proper counselling service, and it's free for people that need it. There's the peer support. It's called Man to Man, which is telephone support, which I'm part of. So I've done some training to do telephone peer support. So we'll get paired up with someone, and we'll give them some. It's not counselling. It's just they get to talk to someone on the other end of the phone. They know that person gets it. It's not going to judge them, and it just opens up conversations and builds friendships.
And that's half the battle, isn't it? Knowing that no one on the other end is going to sort of
Listen.
Yeah, because like all you need is actually someone who just listens to understand
and gets it. They get it. You get it. You understand what they're going through, and it's cathartic as well. Because even though I'm there to sort of support someone, it benefits me as well. It comes back, and you sort of like the conversation, and I start talking about stuff, and it's like, oh, I haven't dragged that out for a little while, and it's good to kind of air it a little bit.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of men suffer with things, different traumas at different points of life, whether it's to do with a relationship breaking down, or whether it's other things. And there are so many things that can happen, aren't there?
Huge.
Like work-wise and stress in the workplace and financial worries and concerns. So there are things that keep coming up, and so many people don't have the opportunity to share and to experience these things. So they're all things that can really be helpful.
There is still a lot of stigma attached to it with men, but I think it is getting a lot better. I mean, even the other day, I came across a local group that they meet up once a fortnight in a bar, and I don't believe that they drink. I think it's like a coffee thing, and they meet up and they just have a little chat, get together, kind of thing. And I think those things we still need more of that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about sort of, I don't like the word signposting, but it is. If people come, they say, oh, I'm feeling like, then I might say, actually, Man Up is a charity that will probably benefit you more because it's a little bit more generalised. Whereas Strongmen it's strong mentally, but it's specifically around loss and bereavement and grief and something like that. So it's more niche in that sense.
Yeah, but that's a specific thing, and it really is a need as well.
Oh, huge. I mean, some of the stories, I'm not going to say any stories because it's obviously very personal for a lot of people, but and it's important to say this before, is that it's not a competition. It doesn't matter that my grief sounds worse than your grief or your grief or your grief. It's everyone's. It's just how you deal with it in different ways. And I think that I've had some horrendous stories of who people have lost and the circumstances. When you talk about murder and illness, and it's just horrendous. And the things that people go through. We've got friends of ours. Their son was an adopted son, and he died of a very rare case of bone cancer. I don't mind sharing that one because it's kind of outside of Strongmen to a certain extent, but it's just those kinds of things you just think horrendous. And how do you compute with that? How do you move forward from something that, and unfortunately and very sad to say, many people don't.
Absolutely.
And that's where I was going. I was going downhill, and if I'd gone on that, I'm not saying I would have done anything stupid, but what I will say is I didn't want to be around. And I don't mean I'm going to go and do anything really bad, but I could have got in a car and driven and not worried about where I was going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, of course it makes sense. Here we
I mean, Strongmen is now part of my life. I can't, it's like photography is now part of my life. And I think the two of them, I take a great deal of comfort out of both. Strongmen because it gave me the reset that I needed. Man Up because it continues to support men in more generalised sort of mental health struggles, and my photography because even though it was born out of it's not probably a good choice of words, but it came out of a tragic situation. it's something that I take a great deal of comfort that I've created something that I actually make other people happy. You know, it's a privilege to take photos. I mean, it's
So you don't doing only wedding photography, isn't it?
no,
So
I don't. I don't do weddings anymore. I
Oh,
do.
you don't? Okay.
No, I don't do. I now really focus on commercial. I call it the umbrella of commercial work. So it's working with professional people. So entrepreneurs, small businesses, one-man bands, little micro businesses, to multi-location business, big corporations and stuff. I kind of work within that parameter of professional people rather than I don't photograph babies. I don't photograph families. I've done everything, but
Yeah, but you're specializing now.
yeah, and I
in
would
the-
do still if I'm asked, but it's not something that you would find on my website.
But they're images of people generally. People
Yeah,
images.
I mean, you do products and things
Yeah.
like that, but which is it's fine. But I like it when I get to work with individuals. People who are starting up their own businesses, or they're just new to business,
Yeah.
and they're frightened to get in front of the camera, and I love that. I love that communication again. It's
Yeah.
that interaction and learning about somebody's small business that they're trying to start off. I find that fascinating.
Do you find now with photography, obviously a lot of everyday images with obviously with people and capturing people in a particular moment. But do you do from a hobby? Do you do photography sometimes when you're out and about and you see something and do you find yourself doing that?
It's a good question because I get asked that regularly, and I find it difficult to answer because my camera is my tools for work,
Yeah.
and it's very rare that you would take your tools to work on
Yeah.
a day out with the
No,
family. It's not.
exactly.
It's that kind of thing. So when I go on holiday or I'm out with it, no, all that camera gear stays where it is. But we've got phones now, and
And
I take
they're
pictures with my phone. I've got we're off to Barcelona very soon, and I thought actually it'd be a good opportunity to take my little GoPro type thing, sort of a DJI Osmo thing, and do a little bit of footage, and just for my own kind of enjoyment and putting something together. I did a little bit of video when we did Kilimanjaro and Toubkal as well. I took little clips, and I still haven't got around to editing loads of it. But again, I pieced together a little trailer for a friend of mine who runs the company that we went through, Ultimate Adventure Travel. I think I always get it the wrong way around, but anyway, I created a little trailer for it and stuff like that, and it was really fun to sort of look at the little clips that I'd done and kind of make it into something that actually he can use commercially. So yeah, so there's a little bit, but it's not. No, I don't go out do sunsets or bird watching and things like that. It's just
Leave that to us to do something.
exactly.
yeah. Look, I don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
at
I'm
all, and
laughing
I
because
encourage it.
I love it, and Richard loved to take photos here and there to flowers.
I think
to
people
birds,
don't- What I say to another little feather in the cap is I've started teaching as well. So I teach.
You're
teach.
one of these guests that always
can't
got
sit still.
something in the.
I can't sit still. I have to do something, and so I started to teach photography. I'm working at further education and adult education college, and at the moment I'm teaching adults with SEN as well. So I've got a class of learning difficulties and all, SEN kind of
Yeah.
Look
students.
how
and-
nice is that
yeah.
because you've got so
it's-
many different skills and knowledge.
Yeah.
How good is that you can pass them on and
It's
you
so
can do
much fun.
something
It's
for-
so much fun, and I steer it away from. So we don't use proper cameras, although that might be a development later on and more advanced course. But if they just got their phones, and it's more about kind of. And what made me think of it is you talking about going out and taking the hobby stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to do. I want people to enjoy and actually take a photograph rather than what I call snapping. Because they go, "Oh, that looks nice, snap. Oh, that looks nice, snap. Oh, that looks nice, snap." You're not actually taking a photo. You just
Because you've got to build composition. You've got to structure the picture.
it's actually looking at the picture and then thinking because how many, I'm sure you've all done this. You'll take a picture of something, you get home, you're like, that's nothing like what it looked like when I was there. That sunset looks rubbish compared to what
But we do have ones that are like, wow.
Yeah, and of course
How
you
is
do.
that?
But it's about replicating that again.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was the off chance that you got that. Or you do what everyone else does. Is like, oh, we'll put a filter on it, make it. No. Let's get it right in camera. Let's look at the sunset and then let's look at the camera and think, right, what can I do to my settings to improve it and actually being more purposeful. That's what I call it in this with my learners. I say we need to be purposeful what we take pictures of, and it's difficult because of where they are on their learning abilities. But I just some of the work I'm like blown away by it, and you're like, wow, how have you formed that in your mind and you've produced this wonderful photograph? And I think that's for me, that's what photography is. It was for me, was about the enjoyment of it. We get it all at the moment. Oh, AI is going to ruin photography. AI is going to ruin video. AI is going to do that. Yeah, it's going to change the face of things, but it's not ever going to replace that human connection you get when taking a picture of another human being or getting out in the fresh air and actually taking a picture of a sunset or if you're into bird watching, whatever it is. AI can never do that, because that's taking away the human aspect of it. And that's something that I'm very much about, certainly for the teaching side of things. I just want them to get out and enjoy themselves. Even if the pictures aren't great, it doesn't matter. It's just going out and trying it, but being purposeful.
The thing is, with that, it's about learning actually what the settings do. Most people have a camera, and like you say, they literally just snap. But actually, if you know what the settings do, the focal length and the light and everything else around it, the speed, the shutter speed, all those things all make a huge difference. And people just don't know.
That means photography, not just...
That's photography. You're in charge. It's like you're not letting the phone decide everything for you. There's nothing wrong with it. I use my phone all the time. When I'm taking a picture without it's fine. Absolutely. And some of the phones nowadays are like crazy. But that still doesn't excuse... How can I make this look different? How can I make my, and I always talk about the fact that majority of phones are wide angle lenses. If you get too close with someone, it's going to make their face look like a blowfish. It's going to distort them, and they're not going to like the photos. Then that's when you learn about focal length and compression and bringing all of those things. How that's where you get the fun. Not letting AI do it. I can do one. Yes, I can see it's useful in certain circumstances and shortcuts for things. It's certainly, I use it to help with editing. If there's like a distraction, I think, oh, I didn't notice that, or there's something in the shot that I can just get rid of that. So it brings the shot up to a different level. But that's it. It's not like it's going to take the picture for me and I just think that we need to keep into context. I mean, there's probably other photographers out there will disagree with me.
But everybody got their opinion, and that's how
and everyone has a style, don't they? Everyone has a style, a way, and that's good.
And I think that again, that's probably why I've gone down the education route now, or in parallel to everything else I'm doing. I think the education route is opened up other opportunities as well.
It gives something back.
Yeah,
that's one thing, isn't it? If you're teaching,
definitely,
there's two things I think with teaching. One, it gives something back, and also when you're thinking about the structure for teaching, it also makes you a master, because you master. You
wouldn't say that. I like to be a little bit more humble than saying.
But you do.
I know what you mean.
You do master because if you've got to teach it, you've got to master the behind it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I say this to my son because we both. Well, we got our black belts in karate in December. Just another thing that I like. Just another thing. But because he's now a black belt, he's now starting to teach. And I said that by teaching the karate to like the youngsters, the lower belts and the younger kids, you're actually going to improve your own karate by teaching it. Sure. And it's the same with the photography. Yeah, I'm going to improve things. And you'll talk about stuff. And then, what was it the other day I thought of? I was teaching something. And I thought to myself, I haven't even done that for myself for a while. And it made me go out and do it. It made me change a setting and take a few photos just for the sake of, I haven't done that for long. And yeah, I've still got it.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's
Any other side things you're doing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure
Obviously,
there's always a
because
few things going.
black,
karate.
in karate doesn't happen in
No,
24
I think there's
hours.
something
How
like,
long it took that?
I think they say it's like 2% or something. The people that start karate and then achieve their black belt, it's like 2%. So something like that. As I said a moment ago, I can't sit still. I have to do something. I don't think, I'm beyond the wrong side of half a century, but in my mind, I'm still 25 and I
that's
need to get out
perfect.
and do stuff. I can't not.
But that I'm sure that helped for any relations at home, at work, and what you're doing in general. Once you are active, I can't see you sitting on the sofa and watching TV or
No.
just thinking, "What show?"
I don't. It's that whole, when you get asked that question, what do you want to do in your retirement, and you get that whole, I want to sit on the beach and drink,
That's not gonna be
tequila
glam, for sure.
and margaritas all day long. I said, yeah, but we don't want to do after that because that's not gonna. You would get bored. I couldn't imagine doing that. Even though that I'm nowhere near as fit as I used to be when I was younger, and my knees kind of like, they remind me every so often, you're not 25 anymore.
You're telling them,
Yeah,
"Shush,
they're like,
I'll do whatever I want."
So you find yourself a little bit, and it's like seeing my son with karate because he's faster, quicker, he's more flexible than me, and I'm like, yeah, wish I was like another 30 years younger, kind of thing, and I could still beat him. But it's that kind of thing that we just, I've got a long way to go yet, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fill it up with as much as I can and do stuff because if it means climbing some more mountains, if it means walking across the Sahara, if it means I don't know what's going to be next, but I'm always looking to do something, and that's what drives me because what's the point otherwise? That's that, in my opinion.
I think strong men play a big role for you.
Huge.
But during the journey, this is a question I love asking people. Did you had people who been the inspiration for you to go and do the different things, or people who you were just leading their example? Or maybe people, books, I don't know, something that played the role of inspiration for you, or you didn't?
I don't think there's any one. I can't name one person. I mean, there's people that I could say that have impacted me positively more than other people. Ephraim from Strongmen. I mean, he's a top man, and if he hadn't done what he had done, we wouldn't be here. And there's hundreds of guys that would be struggling because of Strongmen if Strongmen didn't exist. He's filled this gap, and it's been inspirational in the way that it's supported so many different people, and he gets so much support. So definitely, but then it's people within it. Chocky, Mark in Strongmen, Chris Wolfie, is a very good friend of mine, and he's a personal trainer, and it's those friendships that are inspiring me. My son inspired, my daughter inspired me, my family inspired me. Well, it's that. So there's no, I don't have one person, one particular thing.
But different people play
huge
some roles in your life too.
Of course they do. It's everybody, everything is an influence, isn't it, to some degree? And I mean, there's people from the TV series SAS Who Dares Wins, like Billy and stuff. They're just fantastic people, and I've been very fortunate to meet a few of them, and they're lovely guys. And some of them, they've worked really hard and they're doing their own things, and that's inspirational. And they always have this underlying positiveness about them. And there's a lady called Anna. She's runs a company called The Mountain Girl, and they're connected with Strongmen. She kind of does all the health and safety and makes sure everybody's walks. So she does all the navigation and the routes and everything else. And she's amazing. She just does so much really cool stuff, like as well as doing work for Bear Grylls and all these kinds of things. And she's an inspiration, for what she does. And, I've managed to secure a little bit of work experience with my son to go and go off and do that kind of stuff with her.
Brilliant.
And I just think that people like that they're the inspiration, not film stars. And there's film stars I like, but that's not inspiration to me. It's people who are doing stuff with their lives in doing good or just doing something positive for themselves. That's what inspires
And
me.
I see you through my eyes. You are the guy that will see the glasses half full, and you are quite positive. Am I right? At least nowadays. I don't know what it was, but I would say Graham, who we need today, is the guy who is seeing that. Obviously, that mentality. I'll go. I'll do it. We'll think later.
I like to think so. Don't get me wrong. I'm a human being. I have.
Yes, we don't.
We all
talk
have
about,
ups and downs.
Yeah, of course. But the general mentality now is that.
Yeah, I've just got to, every now and again, remind myself that. I mean, to be fair, and I'm going to be quite open and honest, I've not been great over the past few months. I think probably a lot of it to do with weather. It's been pretty rubbish, hasn't it?
Yes.
But then there's been a few things that have occurred. My wife got pulled over by the dog and she fractured her arm, so she can't drive at the moment. And little things like that sort of have an impact. And I think I was ill quite a lot over Christmas. So I didn't really get the Christmas that I would have hoped for. So I came out in the new year a bit flat, and I'm probably still, hopefully, on that turning point.
Now with the sunshine coming.
Hopefully. But I haven't been great, quite honestly. But then that's life, isn't it?
That's life, yes.
But then I'm always thankful that I've got Strongmen. I can jump on it if I need to. I haven't done, but I can jump on a WhatsApp call and somebody will be around to have a chat if I need to. And, we have a supportive... So it continues all the time. So we have events, but there's a core of people on WhatsApp and we chat and I don't get to go to all of them, but we have every couple of months we have a Zoom call and check in with people, and they'll have a guest speaker sometimes. It's all good and very positive.
Sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So those are the two streams for me at the minute. I say two, there's a million, but Strongmen definitely. My business, the photography, the education is now kind of
the new journey
starting to build up, and everything else in between.
It goes to show, doesn't it? There's no time in life when there's not another opportunity to do something else amazing.
100%. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just get and do stuff. I think I've learned to become more stoic, and we don't always get it right. Stoicism is a tough gig to crack. To say I can only influence what goes on in my head, nothing else I can't influence, but we still get, somebody cuts you up, you're like, it makes you angry. A stoic would go, okay, well, they're just having a bad day and I'll carry on. But you can't always be like that. You could try. Yeah.
But talking about that, I'll tell you something that we've got one book here for you. And I don't know if you met Dr. Ant until now, but I'll make sure you will meet him very soon, because with this guy I think he will be admired by the charity, and I'm pretty sure there will be lots of things you can talk with him about mental health. But there is something very special here. Exactly when someone cut you off, what you could do very quickly, do not go down on the hill. And we actually recorded, as we told you today.
That's stoicism right there, that line.
It's brilliant. Yeah, when you mentioned that, I just can't wait until it's the time to give it to you, because it's the perfect timing. Brilliant, man, and I'm sure you too will.
Oh no, thank you. I'll definitely have a read through this,
and you will like what is there. Very easy reading, but
I
very
like
much
that line
helping.
is just like
and I've got a little bit something for you as well.
Thank you. Don't do that.
No, this is very
Thank
small.
You very much.
Just something good for your skin as well. A little present. I don't know. Do you want to share something else with us?
I've got a story that I haven't shared it with anybody outside of my family at the moment, because it is quite personal, but I'm kind of at a point where I think it's interesting, And I think it explains a few other things about what I've been going through. But my mum passed away a few years ago, and but before she did, about it was kind of like the summer before. And one day I remember it quite vividly. And this is quite a personal story, and I said this is an exclusive. I don't know what you want to call it, but anyway, she rang me up, and I remember it was bank holiday August. I was doing a barbecue, and I was kind of just getting. Sam was out. I can't remember if she was walking the dog or something. I can't remember exactly what she was doing, but I was kind of on my own, and the phone rang. My mum's basically, and she just said, "I need to tell you something." I was like, "Well, what's up, mum? I just about to start the barbecue, mum. And then she went through this, explained to me that that the person who I thought was my dad died when I was 10, and it turns out he wasn't actually my real father, and I'm only learning this in the last few years. So it was all a bit of a really how does that
and a traumatic moment again, traumatic.
Yeah, hugely, and it really knocked me for six, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about why it was kept a secret, but there were, let's put it this way, that was back in the late 60s, early 70s. It's a different mindset about relationships and the way things are going, and especially when it involves, and again, I didn't even know this, but it involves different cultures, and that you're kind of led to believe one thing and then find out that your whole identity is completely different was quite a shock to the system. So I was kind of cool at first. It was like, well, that's whatever, it's fine. Didn't even really think about it, and then it was the following night when it kind of hit me that's big. That's big to know that I'm not actually who I thought I was in the physical sense. So that was a real shock to the system, and I did struggle with that for a little while about what should I do, because there's potential that this person could still be alive. I could start researching it and see if I could locate them, but what would that achieve? And now I think through Strongmen and my connections with Strongmen and Man Up, I've kind of not. I don't think I'm 100% settled with it, but I'm kind of comfortable with the fact that if one day I might change my mind and start researching it, if I don't, I'm not going to regret not. No. It's kind of there, but it's not. And I'm not going to sort of dwell on it. And I think the conclusion of this little story is that what's important, and it's kind of Stoicism and the rest of it, I can't control that.
No.
The decisions were out of love. Yeah. So I can't be unforgiving for the decisions and why things were kept from me. Yeah. I understand all of that stuff, but I can't do anything about it. It is what it is. Yeah. What I can do is what's in front of me. I can, focus on Sydney and Harry, my children, my wife, the family in front of me and going forward. Yeah. So that's perhaps a little bit sort of answer some of the reasons perhaps why I do not sit still and I do want to kind of move forward all the time, because I can't control the past and it kind of upset me, but I can do something about how I feel about going forward. And I think it was worth sharing that.
Yeah, definitely.
It is worth, and I think I like as well as a conclusion what you said, because it's a brilliant reminder, how we react to the things and how it's our choice to whether you're going to face backwards or in front of us.
100%. And we can't be perfect. Sometimes I do feel a little bit sad by it, and sometimes I'm like, whatever. But that's human nature. That's who we are. But I can. What's the equation? It's a Stoic thing, and it's a coaching thing. Event plus reaction equals the outcome. It's how we react to everything that comes around us. Is how the outcome will be. And if I am miserable and sad about something, well, then that's what I'm going to take forward. But if I go, right, there's nothing I can do about it. I could research it and perhaps find some half family that might be out there. But what would it achieve for them? Or what would it achieve for me? It might create a great connection. It might cause a massive problem.
You don't know.
I don't know. So I can't control that, but I can control me, what I do, how I bring my kids up,
Yeah.
I can do that stuff. And I think that's
cool.
the first time I've shared that
Yeah.
outside of very close friends and family.
Well,
So
thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And mentioning your kids, I'm pretty sure you are a great example in their eyes.
well, I
as
tried
a
a bit.
person.
Or should
At
I get
least
it all
what
in?
you show us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, you are just amazing. And yeah, thank you very much again. Once
Yeah,
again,
thank you,
our
Graham.
inner voice as well wasn't didn't how's the word? He was very sure of how we choose
Yeah,
our guests. Yeah,
absolutely.
there was something in you that we just liked.
Yeah, sorry, it was a bit a lot.
Obviously, the moment came
good.
now, and yeah, thank you very much, Graham. For
Didn't really
coming.
talk much about my photography a little bit. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Listen, we've got great plans coming, so
No,
I'll
it's
share
fine.
with you later.
It's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, Graham. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. We hope
Thank you.
everyone's really enjoyed this morning's episode, and we just hope you, if you need help or support, then please do have a look at the links below. We hope you have a great day. Obviously, the one thing we always ask is please do subscribe and follow us.
And yeah, check obviously Graham photography website as well. Look at his work and what client says, because that's the important bit. And yeah, of course, if you want to support us and help us, buy us a coffee on the link below so we can bring more and more inspiring and great people with real stories that are going to help us to go through our moments as well and to inspire us to be the best version of us. Have a great time and see you next time.
Take care. Bye bye.